Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new edition of Rave, Diaries and Tower Block Tales with yours truly, Uncle Doug's. I was doing these like mad regular, and then I've had a big break because I've had loads of other things going on. But we're back in the game now. I'm going to record a few of these today, starting with this one today, the Telepathy 91 Michael Sobell story. But I'm going to record a few of these today, and we're going to get back on it again. So thank you to everyone that's already subscribed, that used to enjoy these videos that I did up until a couple of months ago. And like I say, we're back in the game now, so you can carry on enjoying them again. And if you subscribed in the meantime and you don't know what I'm talking about, then this is another playlist on the channel. Obviously, we did a Run Come Follow Uncle Doug stuff, the video diary side of the channel. But this is more like me going through my memories. I like to try to pull out a bit of memorabilia if I can. It ain't always possible, but I try to base it around a bit of memorabilia, and then we'll tell a story and blah blah blah, and then you lot leave your comments underneath. And we was building up a nice little community, and like I say, life just got in the way a little bit, but let's not dwell on that. Let's get on with today's story, shall we? So I can put a flyer up. I haven't got a ticket, I've got no photos, all I've got is the memories of the story from today. So this is the flyer right now for a rave called Telepathy, which was in late 1991. And I started raving in the Easter of 91. You know, we did the story of Jenkins Lane, Rain Dance the Egg, on one of the previous videos. So by kind of coming towards the tail end of 91, I thought I was the guy, you know what I mean? I've been going out now for a few months, innit? I know everything about raving and all the tunes, all the DJs, who wants it. But obviously that wasn't really the case. Just in my naive 16-year-old mind, that was the case. So I was going out raving more and more, well, yeah, with my cousin Daniel. There was a big crowd of us, but every week it was me and Daniel, and then sometimes we'd be with the bigger crowd and other times not. But like me and him was thick as thieves in them days. So prior to the flyer coming out, we went to a venue called the Michael Sobell Sports Centre, which is just on the Hornsey Road. I think it comes under Islington. Pretty sure it does, but it's just off the Hornsey Road, and it's like for argument's sake, it's a circular building. I think it's a bit of an oblong, but it's a circular building, right? And it's your average sports centre, sports halls and bits and bobs, like any sports centre you've ever been to in your life. Anyway, prior to Telepathy being there, me and my cousin went to a rave there, run by Fantasy FM. And it was wicked. It was packed. It was wicked. It was good vibes. It must have been in about maybe the July, of 91, July, August. Anyway, I think it was a Fantasy FM birthday rave, if I remember correctly. But yeah, we went there and it was great. We really loved the venue and all that. So when this Telepathy flyer come out, the long black one that I just showed you with the famous hand up over the face. We was straight in. You know, we loved the venue. The lineup looked sick. I think it was Telepathy main room and Life in Utopia in the other room, which at that time I hadn't heard of. I didn't know anything about Telepathy. I mean, I'd heard about Marshgate Lane, which was the one prior to this, or some of the ones prior to this, which was a venue that Telepathy had over in East London. And the last one there, someone actually got stabbed to death. And the story that I got told was that Rap had come in after this had happened and played Mr. Kirk's Nightmare. I mean, I've spoke to her since and she was like, it was a genuine mistake. But I'd heard this rumour, maybe it might have been in a Rave Scene magazine or something, but I'd heard of Telepathy, I'd heard of Marshgate Lane, and I'd heard this story of like danger at Marshgate Lane. But like I say, up until going to Telepathy, every rave I'd been to, Rain Dance, Living Dream, 4 races and everything else, was just happy vibes, you know what I mean? So these were just stories in the shadows almost that I hadn't witnessed at this point. So we get our tickets for Telepathy, and if I remember correctly, 5 of us went. It was me and my cousin Daniel, a guy called Dave Ross, who, as far as I know, was the only rave he ever went to. He wasn't really a raver. We worked with him at the time, and he came to it. I think my mate John Dixon was there. And I'm not sure, there was a 5th person, because there was 5 of us in the car. It was one of my old school friends. Might have been Stuart Shears, might have been Brian Hart. I can't remember now. But anyway, So off we pop now. We're just 5 lads from Essex. Them times there, I was 16, obviously I wasn't driving. Islington felt like 10,000 miles away. I've never, knowingly never been to Islington up until that point. I was just starting to get out and about in the world, so I didn't know where was dangerous, I didn't know where wasn't dangerous, I didn't know where I was allowed to go, where I wasn't allowed to go, where I was welcome and where I weren't welcome. So we get the tickets for this rave and we pop along in my cousin's Escort, Wireridge Escort, blue one. Which I'll tell you now was absolutely full of, he was a carpenter on the council at the time, and it was absolutely full of shit. And when I say full, I mean lengths of wood going through it. He never threw a bit of rubbish out of the car, but he never put it in the bin either. So there was literally his whole life, however long he'd had that car, was in the car. So anyway, off we go down to Islington, find our parking space. Now, them times we were super eager, all of us. So I'm assuming if the rave started at 10, we was probably there at 9, probably 8 even. I don't know what time it started, but we would have been there either when it opened or long before it opened probably. So like I mentioned, the venue was oval shaped, circle shaped, like I said. So just for argument's sake, let's use this. When we got there, this was the front doors, yeah? The queue went all the way around, and this is a big building, all the way around the outside, all the way around back to there, pretty much nearly the circumference of the building. And when I say queue, I don't mean an orderly queue, like everyone was queuing up nicely and 1 or 2 at a time. I'm talking it was just pure rabble, all the way around the thing, pure rabble, yeah? So we're standing here, no, sorry, that's where the doors are to get in. Glass doors, that's another thing that's important, glass fronted building it was. By the time we've joined the queue round here, we get to about here in the queue. And my mate Jacko, who some of you lot would know, and I don't know if he was with Geordie Paul, he was with a few others that night. I saw them walking past and I thought they was going to join the back of the queue. So I've run out of the queue and I run around the building to see if I could see them say, come and jump in the queue with us. And I couldn't find them and I was on my own, yeah. So by the time I've come to walk back, as I'm walking back past this bit of the building, just situated about here with some metal bins and all the queue going around here, and stupidly, and looking back so naively now, what I should have done is walked this side of the bins, but I walked the other side of the bins, which gave a block between me and the crowd. Now, while I'm walking down, I noticed there was a group of kids walking behind me. And again, you live and you learn, innit? And you learn from these mistakes in life. And when I look back, it was so obvious, but, that's how you learn, innit? But as I got to the bins, as I got this side of the bins so no one could see, they was all around me, swarmed me. It's the only time I've ever been mugged in my life. And they were around me like a pack of wolves, mate. One of them took me out off, one of them punched me in the chest. They went through my pockets, just took everything out of my pocket. I had a naff wallet. Anyway, within like 5 or 10 seconds, it's done. They've stripped me, everything, hat, wallet, wouldn't have been phone, whatever I had in my pockets anyway was gone, and they were gone. But the sad thing is, and the mad thing is, I'll tell you now, like there was a lot of aggro at this rave that night. So while it was happening, I looked to my left, which was down here, and there was a copper standing up here, yeah? And he see what was happening, and he walked off. Copper in uniform as well. Walked off. Obviously, I wouldn't have known he was a copper otherwise. Walked off. So anyway, I've been mugged. Go back to the queue. Now we're right round on this corner now. We're nearly in. And I go back to the queue and I say to my cousin, I've been mugged and and the ticket, I've got no ticket now. My ticket was in my flipping, my naff wallet, and I've fucking lost me out and everything else. So we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, we're here to buy another ticket, innit? And I still had my Jack and Jills down my pants. So, boom, game on, just got to buy another ticket. And so literally there was people walking around selling tickets. People like me were getting mugged left, right and centre, and they were just selling the tickets. So I bought the next ticket off probably the same geezer that mugged me for mine, and I remember it had a Black Market Records stamp on the back of it. And anyway, we've queued up and we've gone in. But by the time we've got in, like it's taken so long to get round to the front of the queue. It's probably like 2 o'clock now, maybe in the morning. Like I'm talking 4 or 5 hours of being in the queue, which like back in the day, for those of you that used to rave, the queue was almost like, well, not almost, the queue was part of the rave, part of the experience, and I loved it back in the day. I would meet people and have a chat, and then you meet them in a rave afterwards. But this queue this queue at Telepathy was like, it wasn't the queue, but it was just the atmosphere was hostile, and I've never witnessed nothing like this, like to that extent anywhere in my life at that point, but especially not at any of the raves I've been to. So anyway, we get round to the front now and we get to go in, and we walk into what was the main room, which was a big sports hall. And like I said, I'd been there previously and it was just good vibes, and this just felt proper moody, man, proper moody. And through the course of the night, I mean, I got mugged outside. My cousin had his chain snatched in there. The guy that snatched my cousin's chain, we saw him on the way. He'd been stabbed by someone else. It's the first time in my life I'd ever smelt CS gas and just seen ag in the rave. And yeah, it was a real baptism of fire that night. And like I said, we didn't get in there till late. And like I said, I kept my thingies down my jacket, my Jack and Jills down my pants. So when we got in there, I think I probably had 2, maybe 3. And not much time to do them in, because I didn't take them in the queue. So I took probably 2 at the same time, or I don't know, but I took more than I should have. And I remember being in the Life and Utopia room, or was it Freedom? Telepathy and Freedom. Might have been Freedom. Anyway, room 2. And I was sitting on a school bench, you know, the ones with the 2 little lugs at the end with the white bits, the brown. I was sitting on the end of one of them, and I just remember Devious D's tune, The Flip of Time of Our Lives, which is called Drive You Crazy, Devious D and JJ, awesome records. And I done one of them, and my eyes just done the old jackpot, mate. And I'm assuming that must have been about 5-ish in the morning, and when I opened my eyes again, the room was empty. My cousin was shaking his head. "No, Simon, we've been looking for you. Where you been?" I mean, I don't know, I think I've been here. I've been having the time of my life in my head. And then as we were walking out, that was when we saw the guy that had been stabbed and who snatched my cousin's chain earlier in the night. So all in all, it was a mad, chaotic night. And years later, I got to know Eastman, and Eastman was the head of security that night, which we'll get to in a minute. But I could kind of put together bits of the story that I didn't know from behind the scenes once I met him and got to talk to him about it. And so we left the venue and we're all out of our nuts badly. Like, we go back to the car, and like I said, there was 5 of us. And the funny thing is, the one person who didn't get any ag was Dave Ross, who was the ginger fella from Dagenham, not a rave bone in his body. He had a West Ham top on and a Slazenger top on over the top of that, and he never got touched. And we all thought we was like seasoned ravers, and like 2 of us got done, the other 2 got ag. I don't know. Anyway, but it's kind of ironic. But yeah, so it goes. So we get in the car and we're going to drive home, but we're all still flying. My cousin is flying. Yeah, I remember I had a Chevignon jacket on. I took my t-shirt off because it was so soaking. And back then, like, I weighed about 8 stone. I'm not even going to lie, 8.5 stone I think I was. So I was skinny, like proper rave weight, perfect fighting weight for a raver. And I had this big Chevignon jacket on, red one. Anyway, we get in the car, we drive off. Before Google Maps and all of that, we had the A to Z, and like, I think I was in the back. I don't know who would have been in the front. I was in the back, I remember that. And whoever was in the front was reading the A to Z anyway. The first mistake we made was we're driving out of Islington and we've gone through a no entry, and I remember it was like zigzag in and out of islands. So we've gone through a no entry, the wrong way down a one way, through this zigzag, and the police have seen us, innit? So the old blue lights behind us, like, oh, flipping heck, man. So they come up to the side of the car, and they're talking to my cousin through the window, and they made us get out of the car one at a time. But do you know what's funny? Like, this was 91, like I said. I'm not saying they didn't know anything about what we was all up to back then, but they weren't as like clued up as to what they are now. Do you know what I mean? Nowadays, that would be out, swab, nicked, down the police station. But all they'd done, they asked us some questions, and I remember when I got out of the car, I had the jacket on and my top was open, and I just must have looked like a skeleton, like a pale white skeleton with a massive baggy jacket on. And yeah, they just asked us where we'd been and where we was going, and we told them we'd been to this rave at Michael Sobell, and they said, yeah, we knew about that tonight. And where you heading? We said, back to Essex. And okay, get home safe, lads. Dun dun dun. So we got back in the car, drove off. It seems mad now because I know where I'm going in life, but we were just driving. Now I don't know how far Islington is from. We was actually going back to Hornchurch that day. And also, you got to think, like, I'm flying, like, my eyes are rolling around my head. 1 minute is an hour when you're like that. So, we were all buzzing, my cousin's driving, 5 of us in the car, and we ended up at a service station, which from my memory was right near over by Watford, over that way. I'm not sure what one it was, but we'd gone miles the other way. We needed to come back into London from north to east. We'd gone further north for some reason. And I remember, like, my cousin had to ring home and, like, he's trying to explain to his dad while we're up near Watford, around the other side of the M25 somewhere, and that we're not obviously out of our nuts, all of us. So anyway, we made it home safe in the end. It was a mission to get home, and we did make it home safe. And weirdly, like, even though there was all that bother and aggro, and I hadn't experienced anything like that up until that point in Rave, and I got mugged, and I saw this, you know, the trouble and fights, and the guy stabbed, and the smell of the gas and all that. That was my first, like, baptism of fire within a rave. And when I look back now, you know, at the time it was just like, oh, I got mugged at a rave, but I still love the rave. I'm going to one next week. It's never going to stop me. No way. Like, that was how I felt at the time. But when I look back now, it was a huge turning point in my life. I grew up that night. Firstly, that, like, I went from being this naive little raver that thought everyone loved each other to having my wits about me. So by the time I got to the Tasco warehouse era of my life, which was the following year, again, I weren't the most experienced, but I was a little bit wiser and a little bit more on it as to what was going on around me, instead of being in this little hazy bubble of ecstasy. But yeah, after that, I kind of looked for those kind of raves, you know, for the rest of my life, for a long, long time. I went to the dangerous raves, I went to the dangerous venues, I was in what were classed as dangerous scenes. Now, I knew what was going on around me, but I never really saw it like that, you know what I mean? As I followed up into the jungle and then into garage and grime and all that, I knew what was going on around me, but I just always put the music first, and that's always sort of served me well. So, yeah, Telepathy 1991. To finish the story, as I mentioned just a little while ago, I become friends with Eastman long time after 1991. And we got talking one day. I remember we was in my car. We was actually looking for a studio for court. And that day I got pulled up by the old Bill, and they tried to take me to court. They said I was on the phone and driving, and we went to court and I contested it and I got away with it. Me and the police both lied, but my lies were better and I got away with it. But anyway, that's a story for another day. We was driving around, we was talking about that rave, and he was telling me how he was the head of security that night, and it was his company, and he had his dog on the door with him, and the aggro, I mean, there was 9,000 people in there when it was licensed for 3,000, and I'm telling you, it was a lot of ag that night, just with what I saw, let alone being security, head of security. And you know, Eastman's got a lot of tales from that night of people trying to test him on the door, and he's had to back people up, and he's had to, you know, people trying to threaten him with things, and he's had to pretend he's got something to back them up off the door even more. Like the glass was bowing in, you know, I said the front bit here, that was bowing in, but there was so many people, and he was on the other side of it thinking, I need to get these people back. If that comes through, you know, this is a mad accident waiting to happen. So, yeah, it was a real crazy night. And Telepathy, you know, love them or hate them, they've always had a mad, like, history of, you know, some of the biggest and best and baddest events, but also some of the baddest events as well. You know, Adrenaline Village and whatnot, Wax Club, they all had their moments. But it definitely deserves its place in history as one of the best club nights and raves, one of the most important in the evolution of jungle music. And funny enough, I've never really known the guys behind Telepathy. It was Brett and Kenny. Sting, who is Kenny, went on to run all different things, but Deja Vu was one of the things, the radio station that he ended up with. And my bond to Rinse kind of kept us, I suppose, apart. I don't want to say we was all enemies, but if Rinse had a direct close competitor in its peak time as a pirate, it would be Deja Vu. We was next door to each other, tower blocks, which is a story for another day, over on 3 flats. DJs and MCs would hop shit backwards and forwards, and there was just a bit of venom between us back then. Sometimes we would come head to head, but mostly it was healthy competition most of the time. But just recently, through the Stevie Hyper stuff, I got to really meet Kenny properly for the first time, and a lovely, friendly bloke. He was good as gold. Obviously, we're all a bit older now and a bit wiser, but yeah, just got to sit and talk to him about that Michael Sobell night. I told him he owes me some ticket money. I'd want my money back with the ticket. But just hearing his side of it, you know, the 9,000 people in a 3,000 capacity venue, which Rave Scene documented in one of their magazines just after the rave. So yeah, I've got my story as the raver. You know, I've heard other DJs versions that played there on the night. I've got the promoters version and the head of security's version, and I can sort of piece it all together now as one big story and look back on it as like, yeah, it was, if I can pinpoint moments in my life that were super important. Most people may have just been like, I'm never going to a rave again, or I'm going to pick and choose different kind of raves the other way round. But for me, like I say, from there it was, I was off into the Tasco warehouse, and then it was sort of like the jungle raves, the garage, and then the grime, and they've all had their moments of danger along the way. And I've been fortunate enough to see it, but not massively be involved in it mostly, which is maybe a bit of luck. But I think it's also a bit of having a bit of nous, and the old spidey senses go off, and you know, you learn how to have your wits about you more and more and more. But it started at that night at Telepathy at Michael Sobell. So yeah, shout to Kenny and Brett and all the Telepathy crew back in the day right through to now. Shout to Eastman. And big up all you lot that would have probably raved at Telepathy as well at various points and places, or Life in Utopia or whatnot. Yeah, and thank you for viewing. It's good to be back. Watch out for a few more of these. Like I say, I'm going to record a few today and get a few stories out there. So if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed, then please do. I've also got on the other playlist my Run Come Follow Uncle Doug's video diary, which is my week-to-week life, which funnily enough, Kenny Sting from Telepathy is on the latest video that has just gone up on my YouTube channel. So yeah, I'll be back with a new edition very soon. But for now, peace and love to you all. Yeah, we're out of here.